Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Officer Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, huh, partner? Oh, my S's are whistling today. Now then, Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were only half as persistent then as you are today, we all wouldn't have to be here now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did. All of it. All right. It seems the time has come. Oh, okay. I don't know why this is witness testimony. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on the camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So the supposed victim was really you. But there's one thing I still don't understand. Large quantities of blood traces were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how could that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It looked like too much blood for that. More mysterious, more mysterious. What actually happened with this case? When you say it, you mean... Do you even have to ask, partner? SL9 incident. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I have anything to do with it. That incident's not over. What did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only the detective who was in charge of it can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. The case is mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why Oh, yeah. Why does he care so much about this case? That case. It's well, if you think about it, it's kind of apparent why. Why did you disguise yourself as Detective Goodman? Remember, I looked through the SL9 case file, saw a familiar name in there. If I didn't make it look like Goodman was carried out of the evidence transferal, I'd be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did have to pull the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole that the morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall, which explains why he didn't, pick it up or anything. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, partner? I mean the fingerprint-activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Normally that locker shouldn't have opened. Well, unless you burn them off, like last case, I guess, you can change your fingerprints. We can't change your fingerprints, you can erase them completely. So it opened because a rubber glove was stuck in the door by chance? Then Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. Yeah, that's true. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off? Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned on being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during that short time.
Officer Meekins certainly is a one-in-a-million type of person. Mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID.
I'll have to think a little more about his raise this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Exactly. Anyway, he threw himself at me and I ended up cutting him slightly. I'm sorry it had to turn out that way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I don't know what to say.
So what happened next?
So you did your research beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, partner. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, you bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby.
So what you're saying is, on that day,
there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene certainly indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So you stole the evidence from the locker? Actually, no I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone.
What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence?
It's still missing, Your Honor. Oh my. Well, that must mean Detective Goodman took out the evidence, right? Because he opened the locker beforehand. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer? This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. You can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. This one is mine. And I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with.
The witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more.
I do know why, but I'm going to press this first. But that case was solved 2 years ago, wasn't it?
That's the reason the evidence was stored in the evidence room.
Joe Dark was convicted for those crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he deserved his sentence. I remember
the Joe Dark case. It involved serial murders, didn't it?
I don't intend to complain about how it turned out, but there's something that just still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about.
What happened?
I don't know. That's what I'm trying to find out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. I had a feeling we'd wind up here sooner or later. Everyone involved here is related in some way to that case. I better take another look at the files. Yeah, remember? In the list of victims of Joe Dark, the last one was Neil Marshall. He has the same last name as Detective Jake Marshall. Could it be a coincidence? I don't think so. Objection! Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall was mentioned in here. In the list of murder victims. Neil Marshall, are you related to this man? Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you've heard that the name. 2 years ago, he received the same lousy prosecutor award you got.
What? A prosecutor?
Must be talking about the King of Prosecutors award. Now I remember. Prosecutor Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 case before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands.
What's his relation to you?
He was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Damon Gant, chief detective at the time. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and he was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arraigned and incarcerated. The case was finally closed. At least according to the public records.
What do you mean?
My brother couldn't have been killed by Joe Dark. I knew my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's it? That's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me.
Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened to the police department on the day of the crime.
That was the last day the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with this resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. Officer Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery's finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. Things that happen by chance never cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's gotta be more than just that.
So if no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one.
Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye. Objection! No, that couldn't be possible. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Objection! Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained the mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. Seems to me this boy's got the draw on you, partner. All the mysteries of the police department have been uncovered. No contradictions remain. The murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Skye. There were no errors in testimony of the witness, Angel Starr. If you have a response, make it one word or less. Arg! Yeah. I rest my case. Oh, come on, we can't let it end here. There has to be something.
Seems his trial's reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt.
Well done, Mr. Wright. Thanks to you, I didn't need to waste my time. Disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. The apparent murder on the security camera's tape was really fake. But I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty.
Now then, the time for a verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendant...
Hold it! It's Emma. Your Honor, wait! Ow. That was bad. Emma. The defense has an objection! A scientific objection! Right? What do you mean, right?
Mr. Wright, are you this girl's guardian?
Your Honor, in a sense... Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Dark killings. Now that she mentions it, the names of both Sky Sisters were in that file. That's when I figured it out. I mean, when Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprint had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing. The other handprint. You mean the traces of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker?
But no fingerprints were found on it, right?
No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'd be sure to find a clue. So I ran over there and looked at it again. So did you find something? No. Huh? Sorry, I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. I'm just an attorney. Mr. Wright, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. Wright, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Sounds like Phoenix just got like a wedgie or something.
Time's up. Now then, Mr. Wright. With regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain?
It appears the defense is troubled by the other blood mark. Looking at the floor plans, a handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with this? Mr. Wright, I'm sorry I can't be of more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Lana will be...
Please answer my question, Mr. Wright. We don't have all day.
Yes, Your Honor. If ever I needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong with that handprint on Detective Gumshoe's locker? Could there be something I'm missing? I object! This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is you're grasping, Mr. Wright.
You've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them?
Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at these floor plans. Yeah, something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Oh, yeah, I do remember this now.
Let us pray the defense is simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. Wright.
With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I could use.
The question is, which item can prove something is missing in the floor plans?
The Blue Badger is actually going to help us out. The Blue Badger was sitting in front of the floor, the locker, so the bloody handprint could not have been made at the time of at 5:15 or whatever. So it means it must have been made before that. Take that! Take that! What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force. Defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. Wright. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So? So watch what happens when we put him in. He's smack dab in front of that locker. Well?
Well, what?
Ah! That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot on the locker. What? I don't know why he made that reaction.
So that means, just exactly what does that mean?
It means it can't be done.
What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on that locker.
Don't look at me. I didn't put it there. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma. Okay, on that afternoon. Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After you put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So that must mean this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. How did Officer Meekins miss it, though?
Just one moment. I will not... Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched balderdash in my courtroom.
Ah, balderdash. What a good word. May sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. And I'm getting massive Skype notifications. Wonderful. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilled not once, but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape, taken by the security camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Someone bled prior to the struggle shown on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refute you! The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be a fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. Objection! So then, assuming this murder you purport really happened... Purport? Another good word. When did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves it occurred. When did the first incident occur?
To surmise, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jake Marshall, who was disguised as Detective Goodman, another incident took place in an evidence room.
The blood mark on the locker proves this.
Very well. Then tell us, when did this first incident occur? Proof must be presented.
Proof that shows when the murder took place? There's only one piece of evidence that can show that.
Now then, will the defense please present its evidence? What shows when the first crime took place?
What shows when the first crime took place? There's still an ID number missing at 4:20 p.m., way earlier than 5:15. Well, not way earlier, but quite a bit earlier. Take that! And it's quite an interesting ID number as well. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the perpetrator would have had to have entered the room. In order to do so, an ID card is required.
An ID card? Oh! An ID card record!
Officer Meekins brought the blue badger panel into this evidence room at, let's see here,
4:50 p.m. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40 p.m. Ah! Ah! Miles Edgeworth! What have you done?
I never figured you had nerve, boy. Put off the act, witness. Doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out that it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it.
I'm afraid I don't understand either.
It's clear from the luminol test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean up the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible.
That would mean the crime must have taken place before Mr. Edgeworth entered the evidence room.
Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other card number remaining. 77777777. Talk about a lucky number.
But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Officer Goodman have entered the evidence room?
Since there's no record of his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only plausible explanation. He went in with 77777777.
Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID number this is 77777777.
That's 1 7 too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card. At least, at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 77777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. Really? We don't have an authority to inquire into such a person's identity. Well, that means someone that's very high ranked at the police office, at the police station, went in the evidence room. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. Wright. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority.
If an official charge filed against an executive is accepted.
An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups and your forgeries. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. Objection! I take pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate it if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander, is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No, not to you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. Lana? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course we've looked up her ID number. And it's not 7777777. Don't play me for a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about that incident.
The SO9 incident?
Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat his question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for that trial. At the time, occasionally, we felt the powerlessness of the law. At least, I did. Well, Lana! I became a prosecutor in order to suppress crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being suppressed by the law.
Defendant, what are you saying?
I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During that trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me, an investigator in that crime, in the eye and say that you did?
Chief Prosecutor, you didn't.
I don't have to, Officer Marshall.
Why don't you answer him?
Drastic crimes require drastic measures. That's just the way it is. We did what we had to, in order for him to get the verdict he deserved. But Lana! Even if it involved forging evidence.
Whoa. The plot thickens.
So she's saying that 2 years ago, during the SO9 incident, during the trial, there was evidence that was forged. See, that's what I'm talking about.
No. No! Order, 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 order!
Lana's remarks caused such a stir. The chaos in the courtroom could not be quelled. The conclusion of the trial would have to wait until the following day. So guys, quite the statements made by our client, Miss Lana Skye. I do hope you enjoyed, because I sure enjoyed this. Anyways, guys, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed. And I will see you guys in the next part, where we take on the final investigation of the final case of Phoenix Wright, his attorney. This has been ISmileyzI, and I'll see you guys then. Have a great day.